Hello and happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Welcome to episode number 4 of From the Cheap Seats. Please like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking this icon. I gotta find it right there. Yeah. Click on this icon and that will subscribe you to the YouTube channel. When you get to the YouTube channel, click on the bell so you will have notifications when we have a new episode. New episodes drop every Sunday, unless I kind of sleep through it, but that's the plan. So what are we going to look at on this episode of From the Cheap Seats? We're going to look at Makur Maker. He is a basketball star who has decided he is not going to go to one of the historical basketball powers because of his influence from Black Lives Matters. He's going to attend Howard University, a historical black college. What can this mean to the future of college basketball? We're also going to look at celebrities and why they don't know how to break up. And then we're going to finish with my thoughts on Independence Day. Well, we're going to start off with the story of Trump, Abracadabra, and the mask. On July 2nd, the president said this about coronavirus.
Even as new cases hit record highs, President Trump is once again predicting that at some point, COVID-19 will simply disappear.
I think we're going to be very good with the coronavirus. I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear, I hope.
In 1980, George Bush coined a term concerning the Reagan plan to balance the budget, yet drastically increase military spending. He called this voodoo economics. Let me kind of explain from a household perspective what he was talking about. Reagan was talking about, okay, let's take me, Vince, okay? I decide that this year I'm going to increase my food budget by $50,000. $50,000 added to the Opera family household food budget. Yet, at the end of the year, I'm saying we are going to have a balanced budget. No, we're not. Our family is going to be in debt. So in the end, the USA elected Ronald Reagan to be president. He increased military spending. The national debt tripled from $738 billion when he took office to $2.1 trillion when he left office. You can't increase spending in the budget and expect it to balance. George Bush was right. It was voodoo economics. However, the lure of the vice presidency was too strong for George Bush as he bent to the winds of Reaganomics. This is simple logic. You don't have to have much formal education to understand simple logic. Simple logic never holds the position. If you stick your head in the sand, problems simply go away. Problems simply don't go away. Problems are things we have to confront in our lives. When we have a problem in front of us, we have to study the problem. We have to understand what our problem is. And the way to attack a problem is we look for the weaknesses in the problems. We look for things that we can solve within the problem, take it apart little by little. We attack this problem one piece at a time. It's like eating the elephant. You do it one bite at a time. For example, President Kennedy said by the end of the decade, and I think he said this in 62 or 63, we will go to the moon. Now, what was he talking about? Did he say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go out tomorrow, we're going to strap a shit ton of bottle rockets to a cylindrical thing and put a man on there and light all the fuses at the same time and hope it gets to the moon? No, that's not how it worked. It was broken down into smaller problems that smart people could solve until by 1969 we had the whole problem solved and we got a man to the moon. This pandemic is not going to disappear a la abracadabra from some sort of wizard or magician. And this does not take being a rocket scientist to understand this. Some problems that we have had as far as pandemics go, we could take care of with vaccination. Polio ended with vaccination. Smallpox ended with vaccination. Well, what do? We don't have a vaccine for this. Well, let's go back a little bit further to the bubonic plague. The bubonic plague did not just disappear. It killed off 1/3 of the European continent. And how did they get the bubonic plague under control? They didn't come up with a vaccine. They weren't that advanced at the time. But what they did know is, you know what? All of us healthy people, we need to congregate together, and the people who are sick, we need to kind of shut them out. I know it sounds a little harsh, but this is how it ended. It was called a quarantine. Yes, it was a quarantine. They quarantined all the healthy people from all the sick people, and that is how they got the Black Plague under control. Now, let's go to the mask. President Trump is not anti-mask. Listen.
President Trump maintains he is not anti-mask.
If I was in a crowd, a lot of people and everything else, I'd wear them. I have no problem with a mask at all.
But then, just seconds later, he went on to bash his opponent, Joe Biden, for doing exactly that, wearing a mask.
I see Biden walking up on a stage where there's nobody around. He's speaking and he has a mask on, and you can't even understand what he's saying, or he takes it off up there. When there's nobody around, I don't see any reason to.
What the hell is this? I wear a mask, but nobody sees me wearing a mask. I am all for wearing masks, unless your name is Biden. That son of a bitch can't talk with a mask on, so he should just stop wearing one. Like me. I wear a mask, even though the most photographed, videoed person in the world has never been seen wearing a mask. MAGA. Hello and welcome to our second segment. Makur Maker is a legitimate 6'11" basketball center who has had a distinguished high school career. He is the 16th ranked high school basketball player according to ESPN. Maker has declared himself eligible for the NBA draft, although the probability to go undrafted is pretty high for him. That means he will have to leave home and play big-time college basketball at one of the traditional basketball powers like Duke or UCLA or Kentucky or...
Hey everybody, welcome to the HBCU Game Day podcast. We just have the core group today, just the core group. Tali Carr along with Stephen J. Gaither and Wally Pitt. We are talking hoops, man, because Makur Maker is a 5-star recruit. He has committed to Howard University.
Howard University? Howard University? Let me put this in perspective. Mike Trout is the best Major League Baseball player on the planet. Let's say that this year he says, you know what? I'm not going to play Major League Baseball, even though that's the league I belong to. I'm going to go down and I'm going to start playing AA minor league baseball. It would make no sense. Let me put this in a different arena. This is like a presidential candidate announcing, if elected, I will only assume the position of a House page instead of being the elected leader of the nation. That would make no sense. So why did Maker choose Howard? Well, let's look at Howard a little bit. Howard is what they call an HBCU school, an historically black college or university. And Howard is the #2 ranked HBCU school in the country. Howard has a string of highly successful graduates. Probably the most famous, Thurgood Marshall. And part of the reason that Maker chose Howard is to pave the way for highly recruited black basketball stars coming out of high school to support and elevate HBCU schools. This could be a game changer in college basketball. You see, there are a handful of college programs that every year attracts the cream of the crop as far as the high school recruits are concerned. You have Duke, you have Kansas, you have Kentucky, you have North Carolina, and in years past you had UCLA, not quite there anymore, but still kind of blue blood-ish. If the best of the best of high school basketball players stop enrolling in these blue blood schools and start enrolling in HBCU, the landscape of college basketball will dramatically alter. This will elevate the profile of HBCU schools. The talent pool that the blue bloods pick from, the best of the best, that's going to shrink because they're going to say, you know what? We all want player X. I'm going to be UCLA and I'm going to pluck out player X. Or I'm going to be North Carolina and I'm going to pluck out player B because these are the two best players in the country. Now, if player A and player B are suddenly going to, I don't know, North Carolina Central and Howard, then, whoa, that's going to shrink that talent pool for these blue blood programs. So you're going to have a lot more parity in college basketball, which is going to give you, in my opinion, a much better product. In 1965, Texas Western Basketball, which is now the University of Texas El Paso, changed the landscape of college basketball. For the 65-66 season, Texas Western had an all-black starting lineup. And they only lost one game the entire regular season, and they went on in the NCAA tournament, and they faced the Kentucky Wildcats in the championship game. The Kentucky Wildcats didn't just have an all-white starting lineup. From player 1 to the 12th player on the bench, they were lily white, including the coaches. Texas Western, with their all-black lineup, defeated the blue blood program Kentucky Wildcat in the championship game. Who was Texas Western? Were they some great basketball powerhouse? No, but they did have a coach, Don Haskins, who believed, I'm not just going to put out the best white players, I'm going to put out the best 5 players, and I don't care what color they are. That changed the landscape of college basketball. Now, a little side note, when Texas Western won the championship, nobody even had the courtesy to bring out a ladder so they can cut down the nets. That's ridiculous. That is tradition in college basketball. You win a championship, they bring out a ladder, you cut down the nets. Didn't happen with Texas Western. Also, at the time, every NCAA champion was invited to be on the Ed Sullivan Show. Not Texas Western. But Texas Western winning the NCAA championship helped promote and desegregate the athletes in the South, particularly in the Southeastern Conference, which did not have its first black basketball player till 1967. That's not a college, that's a whole conference. A power conference did not have their first black basketball player until 1967. So, to McCurr Maker and all those who do follow in his example, I say kudos. And thank you for keeping up with us for our 3rd segment and our 4th episode. We've been doing this for a month, and in a month's time, we have yet to have any kind of segment on entertainment. It's probably my fault because I'm really not an entertainment guy. I don't really get into like Hollywood gossip and what celebrities are up to, so on and so forth. But something did catch my eye this week. In 2015, on the show The Bachelorette, which I have never watched, by the way, Kaitlyn Bristowe chose Shawn Booth as her happily ever after. They were setting out to prove that you can manufacture love and commitment under the hot lights of a TV studio and the hot scenes of a lavish hot tub. Bristowe and Booth were a nice little couple, sharing their engagement time on social media platforms. For example,
I'm Kaitlyn.
And I'm Sean B.
Why do you
Not
say
funny
that?
anymore?
No, you're Sean. Don't be Sean B.
Neither of us have been to Galveston, but we absolutely love it, and it's very
Laid
chill. Exactly, and that's exactly the type of people we are. So it's definitely been perfect for us.
And it's beautiful.
It is. It's gorgeous.
well, dadgummit, who could have seen this kind of bliss coming to an end? You see, in 2018, the couple put out a joint statement. After 3 incredible years, we have decided to go our separate ways. Time out. You don't have 3 incredible years with someone, then decide, you know what? These years are incredible, but maybe we should end it now so this incredibility doesn't keep going. It's ridiculous. Don't say after 3 incredible years, say after 3 years. We have decided to go our separate ways. But these were incredible years, according to their joint statement. Then they continue. This difficult decision comes after thoughtful, respectful consideration. Even though we are parting as a couple, we're very much committed to remain friends. Let me put in a little word of commentary here. Bullshit. They go on. We have evolved as people. We were once, Cro-Magnon men, and now we are Neanderthals. I don't know how the evolution chain goes. And they say, which is taking us in different directions. So we have this incredible years going. We have this thing going, but now something is taking us away from this incredibility into different directions. So we need to part. But with the hope that we will continue to support each other in new ways. How about that? Now, that was 2018. Now, this week I read this. Caitlin shared on iHeartRadio Scrubbing In podcast this. She said, I am not trying to speak for him, and I don't know, but I truly think he will never understand me or respect certain decisions that I think he's just going to hold onto anger with me. That's how I feel. In talking about a meeting with him, she said, I would be nervous. I would probably play nice, even though he hurt me so terribly. I hold anger too, so I feel like I would hope his new dog would be with him because that would be a good distraction. Now, my question is this to celebrities and people who do stuff of this ilk. Why don't you just be upfront from the beginning? Listen, we had 3 years together. We thought they'd be great because we met on The Bachelorette. But you know what? They actually suck. So we're not going to keep this charade up. We are going to leave. Let me tell you something. I've been married 3 times. The first 2 ended in divorce. My first wife and I, we did not stay friends. If staying friends was an option, probably would have remained married. Because we probably would have been having incredible years as friends. We weren't having incredible years. We were having rough years. We were having rocky patches. We were having a lot of this going on and tug of war and fighting and backbiting and all that stuff that goes with the divorce. My second wife, we did remain cordial. But let me tell you something. I'm not entrusting her with my deepest secrets. Excuse me, not entrusting her with my bank statements. Neither of my ex-wives remained much of a part of my life. That's what divorce is about. It's not about having incredible years and then thinking, you know what, we're going to skip off and do something else, even though that we still love each other and we're committed friends. No, that's bull. We get divorced to get away from unpleasant situations. The reality is this. Divorce is financially draining. I know I've been drained twice. It's expensive. It's not easy to go through. It is emotionally draining. You have someone that you were so committed to that you thought you're going to spend the rest of your life, and suddenly that just kind of falls apart. It drains you emotionally. You have a lot of animosity that comes to the surface. Animosity that sometimes you didn't even know you had towards your ex-partner. The anger is real. You become an angry person. Sometimes you have no alternative but to go see a professional to get happy again. But the divorce was necessary because you could not stand to live with each other anymore. Now, personally, if I have to see another celebrity put out gooey shit like this, that they're going to remain friends and support each other, I'm going to vomit. Caitlin, okay, so you went up front to begin with, but thank you for finally coming clean. When you go through a divorce, your husband, well, this isn't a divorce, this was a breaking of an engagement, but the one you were betrothed to, he is suddenly not a Prince Charming, he's an asshole. And you are suddenly not the princess who's locked in the tower that gets the kiss. You're an asshole too. As we close out this Independence Day episode, allow me to speak what this day means to me. This country was founded on the best intentions by some very fine people. People that were encapsulated in a different time, in a different place. However, this country was founded with some fundamental flaws. And this spills into two fundamental philosophies concerning what this nation is about. Some feel that we need to conserve the paths of those who went ahead of us, hearkening back to a bygone era of innocence, fundamentalism, and reserved behavior. It is the people of this persuasion who believe that they have patriotism cornered, and those that don't agree with them, they may exit the country. Others, like myself, feel this country was not founded on some sort of God-ordained destiny. This country was founded by imperfect people. This country is not static. It deserves to strive for perfection. In this drive for perfection, this group has liberty to question the past and ask difficult questions. Like, in our history, might we have done some things wrong? This is not a repudiation of patriotism. It is the right of each citizen to demand we better ourselves. That we better ourselves as individuals and as a nation. And that when I say better ourselves, it doesn't just mean our pocketbooks. It means how we treat our fellow citizens. Happy Independence Day.